Hello students, I hope you all doing well. Today's lesson is the continuation of the types of sentences, of sentence structures. So now we're going to talk about complex sentences. Well, complex sentences are sentences composed of an independent clause and a dependent clause. Okay? Unlike compound sentence, um, uh, where we had two dependent, two independent clauses, and for simple sentence, we only had one sentence, one idea. Therefore, we had one independent clause. But here, for complex, we have one independent clause and one dependent clause. Let's look at this example. When he won the award, everyone cheered. Is this a independent sentence? When he won the award, is it independent? No, of course not, because it's not a complete thought, right? It isn't completed yet, right? So when he won the award, then what happened, right? We don't know. It isn't incomplete. So therefore, this is a dependent clause. Everyone cheered, right? Everyone were happy. So this is the independent clause. How do we know that? Because we have the subject and we have the verb. It is complete and it gives complete meaning. Even without, guys, listen, even without this, if we removed this sentence still is an independent because everyone cheered, everyone were happy, right? So this is a complex sentence because we have one dependent clause and we have one independent clause. Easy as that. Look at the second example. Now that I saved up, I can buy a bike. Of course, this is our dependent sentence, right? It's not a complete thought, right? It is incomplete. And this, I can buy a bike, this is a complete thought, right? Even without this, don't look at the sentence. Does it give a complete meaning? Of course, yes, right? So we have the subject and we have the verb, right? Gives complete meaning, so therefore this is a complex sentence, right? One dependent clause and one independent clause. This is a complex sentence. Look at this. A dependent clause sometimes shows up at the end of the sentence. Just like this example. I took my umbrella because it was raining. So guys, unlike this sentence, the dependent clause came at the beginning, right? But here, it came at the end of the sentence, right? So it's just a matter of replacement, okay? It is still, so this is still the dependent clause. This is still the dependent clause, right? It is just a matter of replacement, right? If you just change their places, it is still a dependent clause, no matter what, okay? So I took my umbrella. This is a independent clause. Independent, I took my umbrella. Easy as that. Because it was raining, so if we just removed this sentence, does it give a complete meaning? No, I don't think so, right? Because it was raining, so what? What did you do, right? We don't know, so this is a dependent sentence. It depends on the independent sentence. This is incomplete, right? So here, this point was about a dependent clause sometimes shows up at the end. So this is it. There you go. And likewise, like often, it shows up at the beginning of a sentence. So here, this is a dependent clause, and I took my umbrella, the independent clause, because it gives complete meaning, right? I took my umbrella. That's it. So let's review those three types of sentence structures. Mike knew lots about monkeys. Simple sentence, right? How do we know? Because this is one sentence, right? We don't have any coordinating conjunctions, right? We don't have any words that links two sentences together, right? So Mike knew lots about monkeys. Listen, if you removed anything in this sentence, the whole meaning, the whole structure will decay, will be destroyed, because this is one sentence. It's about one idea. So therefore, this is a simple sentence, the first type of sentence structures. Look at the second one. Although Mike was running late for the meeting, he seemed relaxed. If you notice, we have this word, right? So although is a combining word. This combined these two sentences together. This was the first sentence. Mike was running late for the meeting, and then he seemed relaxed. So this word combined these two sentences together. So therefore, listen, Mike was running late for the meeting. So what is this? Mike was running late for the meeting. Is it a independent sentence? Is it a dependent sentence? Because this is a complex. Remember, notice this here. This is a complex sentence. He seemed relaxed. This is your independent sentence because it gives complete meaning, right? He, your subject, seemed your verb, right? And this is your adjective or your object. Mike was running late for the meeting. So what? If he was running late for the meeting, then what happened? How he was? He seemed relaxed. So this is your Mike was running late for the meeting. This is your dependent sentence. Okay? And compound sentence. He was hungry, so he ate. So compound sentence, remember we said what? In a compound sentence, we have two independent clauses. We don't have dependent clauses in compound sentences. We only have independent clauses, okay? So he was hungry. This is one independent clause. It gives complete meaning, subject and verb. And then, so he ate, subject and verb, right? So we have two independent clauses, right? So therefore, we have a compound sentence, okay? The last one, compound complex sentences. Remember, we said for complex, we have one independent clause and one dependent clause, or more than one dependent clause, right? This was the formula. This was the occasion, the equation for complex, right? And for compound, we only have independent clauses, more than one. As you can see here, we have more than one independent clause, right? Two independent clauses, right? So compound, two independent clauses, complex, one independent clause, and more than one dependent clause, because I put an S here, plural, it's not singular, okay? So this is the equation for compound complex sentence. If we combine complex and compound sentence, what do you think we will get? Compound and complex, right? So independent clauses. So for the compound, we will take the independent clauses here, okay? And for the complex, we will only take the dependent clauses, okay? So we will only take the independent clauses and the dependent clauses of complex, as you could see in here. Independent clauses and the dependent clauses. So in a given sentence, we can have more than one independent clause, and also we can have more than one dependent clause. Okay, so this is what a compound complex sentence is. Look at that example. After the storm passed, I went outside and I picked flowers. So of course by now you will know. After the storm passed, this is your what? Excellent. This is your dependent clause, right? It is incomplete. After the storm passed, then what? Right? We don't know. I went outside. This is by itself. I went outside. This is a independent clause, right? I went outside. And then I picked up flowers, because here, listen, we have subject and verb. We have subject and verb, right? It's complete, right? So I picked flowers. This is also an independent sentence. So therefore, count it. We had one dependent clause and we had two independent clauses, right? So therefore, we have a compound complex sentence. Compound complex sentence, right? More than one independent clause and one dependent clause, and it can varies. You can have two independent clause. I mean, you can have two dependent clause and one independent clause. It doesn't matter. If you have more than one independent clause and if you have more than two independent clause, then be sure that you have a compound complex sentence. Okay? So, the last sentence. We added some additional information. After the storm passed, I went outside and I picked flowers because they were beautiful, right? So again, this is your dependent clause, as we said, your first independent and your second independent. And notice, here we added a dependent clause too. So this is your second dependent clause. So the sentences in red, they are dependent, and the sentences in blue, they are independent, right? Because they were beautiful. What was beautiful? We don't know, right? So this is your dependent, and after the storm passed, then what happened? We don't know. So this is incomplete, just like this sentence. So these two are dependent, and then I went outside and I picked flowers. This is your independent clauses. So we're finished. Today's lesson is finished, and I will post your homework by tonight. So stay tuned and watch the video. Thank you.